So my mic has been muted for the past couple minutes. I've been talking to the camera and nobody's been able to hear me because I am very smart. Oh, regret. That didn't even work. Hang on. Give me a second. So, let me talk while I'm off camera, maybe. What was I saying? Yeah, I had my eye on, as you do, you're on TikTok and you're scrolling, because unfortunately, I am on TikTok and I am scrolling. Uh, just, at some point I just decided, as much as I am not a fan of the short form thing and my content doesn't suit it and I have big opinions about the matter, but, uh, I suckered myself into doing TikTok. But good things have come of TikTok as well, because I was following this person, Goblin Mixtape Tape, I believe is the TikTok. They are clearly, as noted here, better known on itch.io at Blinking Birch Games. So I don't need the interpreter here. I just need the cards themselves, which of course are also wrapped in plastic. Why wouldn't they be? Really? And of course, as is tradition, the second you need your nails for something, they have been shorn. They have been cut. Anyway, as I was saying, I was talking. I follow a good number of people on TikTok that do tabletop RPG content, and a goodly chunk of them are people who do like creating tabletop RPGs, writing tabletop RPGs, and this person had made this game, Anamnesis. And, yeah, Anamnesis. And I was very interested. I was like, oh man, another memory loss game. It might play completely differently from punch card memories. And as I was continuing to follow them, I also run in a similar circle on Tumblr, right? And so I had run into them in two places. I was yelling about their upcoming game, which I think either just released very recently or is about to release. Oh, good, these are sorted already. This is actually, I needed this to happen for this game. As part of the setup, you have the wands, pentacles. I will eventually get a tarot deck that is uh, cups. It's a little more decorative. Knight of Cups, King of Cups. Here we are. Cups, swords. But let me keep telling my story here. So I run in a couple of different tabletop circles, and I had found them on TikTok first, and then found them again on Tumblr. And I was talking about how, oh man, I'm so excited for your new game, and I like looked you up on itch.io, and Anamnesis looks so fun. I'm gonna buy it for my stream show. And they were like, oh, if you're interested, I can just send you a review copy. And so, very graciously provided by the creator tonight is the review copy here. I'm going to be honest with you. If I like this, which I get the sense I'm going to like it, uh, I'm probably going to buy a physical copy. Because that's something that some solo tabletop RPGs do, believe it or not, is they sell physical copies of these games. And so, yeah, oh, man, I got a lot to talk about while I'm shuffling these cards. Maybe I can keep track of some of it. So I got a lot to talk about. I am out on the road again. Thank Hylia for small favors. Um, I am in an undisclosed location. I've been having really, really great thrifting luck. I found the last 3 seasons. Sorry, I looked up because of all of a bunch of stuff that's in there is my great thrifting luck. I found a bunch of really, really good DVDs for super cheap. I found the last 3 seasons of Smallville I've been looking for. I found a board game that my brother has been looking for. Apparently, like I sent him a picture. I was like, "Wow, remember this?" And he's like, "I've been looking for a copy of that game so I can find the pieces." And so I bought it. Um, I found a really, really good tea shop that, speaking of TikTok, it turns out I follow them on TikTok. Like, I walked in, and I was like, man, this business seems familiar. Like, because it's a tea house, right? And so you walk in, and there is there's a little, like, communal table where you can buy in, you can, like, spend $5 per pot of tea and sit there and have tea with people. And, so I did. And as I sat down at the table, I went, this looks really familiar. Do I know these people? Do I know this from somewhere? Am I having deja vu? And then, like, eventually I have a couple pots of tea. And this guy walks in, and he's the guy who I presume owns the shop. He's at least the head of, like, the social media or whatever. And he walks in, and I'm like, I do know this place. And I opened up my phone and opened up TikTok and went, it is that guy. So I talked about. So, like, this tea shop's really good. If you're in the area that I'm in, go check them out. It's West China Tea. Um, but they do like a Gong Fu style, steep of tea, which I don't normally do. I normally just do, Western style teapot tea, loose leaf, you all know how I do tea here. If you're a regular, I have a particular tea ritual. And anyway, yeah, I got to talk about, like, they were like, oh yeah, we have this social media presence, and I'm like, oh yeah, I do a little bit of social media too. And like multiple people were talking about their social media things, and so like multiple times, like I was sitting there for a while. I had several pots of tea. I had like bought in on like 4 or 5 pots of tea because I was just enjoying sitting there talking to people and enjoying my tea. Uh, and so like at least 3 times as I was sitting at that table, I got to sit there and talk about paper cuts and my other shows. Multiple times people were like, they were like, oh yeah, I do this internet thing, and I'm like, oh, I also do an internet thing, and they kind of like, and I phrased it in such a way that they could stop me, every time, because I'm not one to be like, I also do thing, in an impolite fashion, but I kind of let them finish talking about, like, there was this one person who is like the production manager for like 4 or 5 different tabletop RPG podcasts, like actual plays, and they were describing the system they were picking up for a season to try instead of D&D, and it sounded fascinating, and I wrote it down. But they were really nice. They put me on to a board game bar here in town, which I won't name because that will make it easier to narrow down where I am. But anyway, they pointed out this board game bar that I had seen in looking for things to do in this town, and was like, I don't know, that seems kind of gimmicky. But I didn't notice they did board games. I thought it was just a bar. And so they pointed out they did board games. I'm like, oh, absolutely, I have to go there. Let me write that down. And then like the second guy, he was also from out of town. He was in from Colorado Springs for a couple months. He was also on a software contract. He had just rented an apartment here, unlike me. And and we got to talking, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I also do this social media thing." And I was like, well, we got to talking, and I mentioned the RV, and he was like, "Oh man, do you do any social media with that?" And I'm like, "I should. I don't, but I do this thing." And I, gave him the whole spiel about paper cuts. um, and it was a great time. And then, like, as I was walking out, as I was checking out getting these tea coins, which I'll grab one actually because they're actually really cute. Like they're really pretty in their packaging, and they're just little guys. So I'm gonna grab one and show you. This one, the blue one. Yeah, they're cute little tea coins. Hang on, let me do the beauty influencer hand here so my camera focuses. But they're just cute little coins. Like they're little baby They're little baby pu'er cakes, you know, like, you see these, like, well, maybe you don't, but, like, they make these big pu'er tea cakes that are, like, yay big, and you drink them for months and months and months. And these little ones are like a single serving, like a teapot's worth, and it'll make like 7 or 8 it'll make, like, I think 3+ liters of tea, like almost 4 liters of tea, honestly, if you don't mind it getting a little thin at the very tail end. And yeah, I got to I was like talking about, like, yeah, I didn't put two and two together until da 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 da. But I do actually follow you guys on TikTok, and they're like, yeah, we won an award really recently for it. I'm like, yeah. And I was like, oh, I also do social media, and they were like, oh, what do you do? Do you have a following? I'm like, I don't really have a following per se. Like, I have you guys, obviously, but I don't consider you guys a following. It's just whoever shows up shows up. I will not consider myself to have a following until someone comes up to me in public and is like, hey, are you Glacier Nestor? Like, I know that's a very smug bar to draw, but, like, you know. Anyway, I digress. They were like, oh, I explained paper cuts to them, and they're like, wow, that's a really good idea. And I'm like, yeah, I'm one of the first people to be doing it, like, as their whole shtick. Because, like, there were other people who did, what Paper Cuts does many times over in the podcast world, but there were not a lot of people, you know, not doing it as kind of like a one-off, like, I'm doing a bedtime story bit. Like, there were, I think there were other people doing it before me, just because it's such a simple format. But, like, in the circles in which I run, I am the oldest person to be doing, the person who has been doing it the longest. And so I confidently stated an incorrect thing, probably. But anyway, yeah, I got talking about paper cuts, and they were like, yeah, we'll check you out. Which I really appreciated. Whether they're listening or not, I don't know. But either way, where I'm at has been really nice. There's been a lot of really fun things to do, and tonight is no exception. We're going to be playing Anamnesis, and my OBS is very upset that I have Calibra open, but we'll see. If this doesn't keep exploding, you might be able to read the rules with me. So essentially, the title of the game, Anamnesis. Anamnesis? Sorry, that schwa is throwing me off. Sus. Yeah, I'm saying it right. Brain. Anamnesis. A remembrance of the past. Or Platonism. The recollection of innate knowledge from a previous existence. Anamnesis is a solo journaling game about self-discovery, reflection, and identity. You play as an individual who is woken up with memory loss. You do not remember who you are, where you are, or what you care about. As you draw tarot cards, you fill the blank spaces of your past and learn more about your present. To play, obviously, you need a deck of tarot cards and a way to record your thoughts. That's you guys. The prompts in Anamnesis are not dark or frightening, but its themes may lead you to journal about serious topics. In much the same way as punch card memories, take care of yourselves out there. This does deal with memory loss. It is a core theme of the game. The content of your journaling ever becomes too heavy or disturbing, prioritize your mental health and step back. You can revisit the game later or make changes to the narrative to lighten it. If you draw a card that makes you uncomfortable or that you don't want to journal about for any reason, discard it and draw a different card. So we separate the tarot cards into 5 decks, which I've done backwards here. Let's sort this. So the Major Arcana here. Major Arcana. Ignore that we just know we have strength. The Pentacles, which are Wands, Swords, Pentacles. I think. No, Cups. So these are Pentacles. So Pentacles, Swords, Cups, Wands. Shuffle each deck, set aside the 4 Minor Arcana decks, and draw 1 card from the Major Arcana deck. Strength is our shadow and represents who we were in the past. Keep the shadow face up next to you and use this card as a guide for uncovering your past. Do I like how this is laid out? I don't. I want to have these down frame. We're going to have the decks up here in the same order that I just expounded them, but we will have the cards we pull be down a little closer to me. I like that better. Yeah. So, strength is our shadow. We'll see what that means later. There are 5 acts. Each act uses a different deck. At the beginning of an act, draw 3 cards from its corresponding deck. Place said 3 cards face down in front of you. Flip over the first card, read the prompt associated with the card. Make a journal entry, keeping in mind your shadow. Flip over the next card, continue till you've made journal entries for all 3 cards, then move on to the next act. After you read a prompt, draw from the major arcana. Use this card to answer the questions in the prompt. For example, a prompt might be, you talked to a friend yesterday. Who was this friend? What was your conversation about? And for this prompt, the major arcana you draw represents the friend you spoke with and or the topic of conversation. At the end of each act, shuffle the major arcanas back into the deck. How you interpret the major arcana cards is up to you. You could use the traditional meaning of the cards as found in tarot guides, or you could find inspiration from the name or design of the card. There is no wrong way to interpret the cards. I've been doing a little light reading on the symbolism of the tarot deck. I don't have 100% of a grasp on it yet, which is unfortunate, but as the game says, there is no wrong way to interpret the cards. So there's some alternative forms of play, but essentially, let's jump to Act 1 here. There are some play examples here, but we follow. I follow anyway. When you're ready to begin, take a deep breath and wake up. We will wait for the internet to rise from its slumber before we begin proper. Come on. I have internet. It's right there. I'm looking right at it. Are you gonna behave? No, don't connect to that. Connect to the car. Disconnect from that one. This is why it happened. It decided to connect to the park Wi-Fi. Do not connect to that right now. Don't connect to that. Connect to this. Oh man, my computer is going through it right now. Having a real time of things. There we go. Now we're alive. We rise from our poor internet slumber and draw 3 pentacles. The Queen of Pentacles inverted. Oh, they're all inverted. The 5 of Pentacles inverted. And we'll rotate the deck because I think I put these down upside down. And the Knight of Pentacles. So our first prompt is the Queen of Pentacles inverted. Wait a minute. No. The base cards of each suit are not major arcana. Brain. Okay. So our first card is the Queen of Pentacles. You feel pain. Where is the pain coming from? What is it caused by? I think because we've drawn the Queen of Pentacles inverted, I think we're going to invert the prompt. I think we feel a very sudden lack of pain. As we sit up, clutching our chest, we gasp a breath in and find Chariot. We sit up and grasp at our chest, our breathing gasping and gasped and heavy, expecting something to be where we grasp at our chest, and for a long moment we look down and there's nothing there. Nothing hurts. Huh. we're not sure why we expected there to be pain, why we expected there to be something right here, but we have a faint inkling of glass spreading across our field of vision. Where that glass has come from and what we perhaps landed on, to feel the sudden ache of a lack of pain fill our chest, has us very nervous. So next is these 5 Pentacles. I wanted so bad to say 5 of coins. That's not right. I guess... No, it's Pentacles because they're the stars. You take a deep breath and smell something in the air. What is this scent? Does it trigger any memories? So as we are, like, slowly trying to center ourselves from the pain, a smell fills the air. It takes us a long moment to place it. The Arcana we've pulled for this, by the way, is the Lovers. If you were curious. It takes us a long, long moment to place the scent that fills the air because it seems to be flickering between 2 or 3 things. For a moment, we smell smoke in our smoke fill our nostrils. For another, it's cloyingly floral. We're not sure if it has the peppery bite of lavender or the sickly sweetness of a rose. It smells like a florist. Well, a florist on fire. Well, a florist on fire and something else we can't quite place. We close our eyes, deep in thought, trying to, use these scents to connect memories, memories of what we were before we woke up, and all that really comes to mind is being thrown out of a window. Whether that happened immediately or previously, we were in an almost cartoonish fashion thrown out of the plate glass window of a florist at some point. Who we were brawling, their face is indistinct, but at some point in our lives, we were thrown out of a florist with a great deal of bodily force. Which is just such an odd memory out of context that we can't help but smile. Lastly but not leastly is the Knight of Pentacles, which is... You notice a scar on your body. Where is this scar? Do you remember how you got it? Okay, let's pull the Major Arcana here. It will help me decide where this scar is. The Magician. Oh... The Magician is like pursuit of knowledge, the hope for understanding, right? That's that Arcana's shtick. What if... This is fun. You notice a scar on your body. Where is this scar? We're looking at our hands, we're looking at our body, we're trying to take stock of where everything is, and we notice a small divoted scar in our shin. We kind of look at it in confusion, like, how in the world did I get that? And as soon as the word "that" is out of our mouth, we're snapped back into a memory with a remarkable force. We feel our body go completely stiff as we stand there, our eyes unfocusing, and we remember that this is from trying and failing to grab a very, very large book off of a very tall shelf in our childhood. In that very childlike way, there's so much reaching and tension. We're barely balanced on our little toesies as our fingers just graze the book once, twice, and on the third try we grab it, but we lose control of it on the way down, and the sharp corner of this book slams into our leg and cuts deep enough to get us to start bleeding on the floor a little bit, and we ah! And the scar has stuck around to this day. Well, whenever this day is. And Yeah, okay. I think I have an idea of how I want strength to play into this. And it's sitting in the back of my head. So I'll keep playing here and we'll see if this reveals anything interesting. So we will shuffle the major arcana once more. I just don't want I feel like I should be shuffling these a bit more elegantly. You know, to kind of, if we want to lean in on the inverted on inverted deck trope that we're kind of playing with here. So we shuffled our three major arcana back into the deck. And I feel like I need to take my time. There's only 3 acts here. So perhaps we take our time with Act 2 now that we've gotten our bearings. I'm resisting the urge to interpret these the major arcana in the sense of what little I know about the major arcana, which is from the Binding of Isaac, which is just such a wild place to have learned about this. Um, who knows? Maybe that'll play in as we come into Act 2, Swords. After getting your bearings, you walk around town. You know this town. You know it well, but cannot remember it. So as we draw these 3 cards from the deck of swords, which I will narrate here in a minute, we find that the light the light kind of shifts in the room, and light kind of shifts in the room, and we finally kind of blink our eyes clear, and we can see farther than a foot in front of us. Our vision is still a bit hazy, and as we're stumbling around, we kind of reach out and grab a pair of very, very thick glasses and put them to our face in a way that suggests a long, long muscle memory, having trained us into getting them just right on our face, and the world snaps into exquisite detail in front of us. We're in a small. I'm gonna say, just I'm feeling very medieval lately. What with what I've been watching and everything, feeling very medieval fantasy today. So we find ourselves in a small tavern inn. Clearly someone dragged us in here after finding us somewhere. And we kind of like rise from the bed and like kind of very slowly pad out of the room into the main area of the tavern to find that. Do I want this to be isekai? Sorry, I just like realized the context this is going to be placing the first act in here. Do I have water? Speaking of decisions I need to make, do I seriously not have water in here? I know I own a water bottle. Don't do this to me. Okay, cool. My water bottle has wandered off, so I'm gonna have flavored water like a fancy boy. Um. Anyway, I've made some story decisions here. I promise the confusing plate glass florist window will come back. Um. as we are as we're kind of padding out into the tavern, it's very quiet. It's about midday, and the barkeep kind of nods their assent at us as if to say, "Oh, good, you're awake." And we kind of uh, we walk out. We walk up to the door and find a pair of boots that we know are ours, and slip our feet into them, and find with the 10 of swords inverted, which tells us you find yourself wandering through a graveyard. What do you find there? And we've drawn the major arcana for this card is Lovers Inverted. So let's keep that in mind here. So I think because the 10 of swords is inverted here, the best inversion I can think of here is we kind of like walk out of the tavern and find behind it a small a small, like, country town graveyard. There are no graves. There are no graves marked here. Or at least so we think as we enter. It's essentially just a small little grove of grass, and as we're padding around trying to piece together whatever we can think of, we come up over. Actually, we don't come up over a rise. We actually trip. Uh, and it turns out that there are stones in here. As we were walking along, we found them in the worst way possible. We slam into the ground, little pinpricks of pain pressing into our palms, as we are once again acquainted with the sheer annoyance of tripping over something that you didn't see. And we kind of get to our knees grumbling and kind of spin around a little bit, scrabbling through the grass, trying to find purchase so we can get to our feet, and find that what we've tripped over is a gravestone that marks two lovers. They have two different names, which I will not say because I'm bad at names. But there are two different names, and the only etching on the stone is gone but not apart. And we're looking at the two names on the stone and looking at the epitaph there. Running our thumb over the two etched dates, and we realized that we knew these two people. We went to school with them. I'm gonna say, there was not a lot in the way of schooling, given, where we were, where we are. We're from here. Where's here? Our thoughts wander every which way for a long moment before getting back on, wondering where is here? Well, why do I know I'm from here? What type of place is this? I need to go find out more, but let me finish this thought. I need to remember. We realize that we do indeed remember these two people. Their names are. I lied. I'm gonna give them first names, but not last names. Their names are Anne and Mary, and we realized that we did know these two people. We went to school with them. We didn't get a lot in the way of schooling in the process of growing up here. There was not a lot of call for a book learning beyond the very basics of math and a relative understanding of how to speak and carry oneself and how to track the seasons as they cross the sky, that sort of thing. A very one-room farmhouse type school. In fact, I think it is very much. I think it was where we grew up with these two. They were of the same cohort as we are, of the same generation, and there was maybe one or two other kids. They're hazy, they're unclear, so we're not sure how many other people, but it seems like there wasn't a lot more people outside us and these two. And despite everything, despite the state we were in at the time, we would manage to get our way into school because we loved the little motes of inspiration and learning we would get from there. We'd grown up hearing tales of wizards and scholars and the like, going on grand adventures, and always wanted to learn more about the world, even despite how difficult it was sometimes. And that served as a stark contrast to these two lovers that we have stumbled over their grave. They were always very begrudged at having to be there. Both of them hated that their parents forced them to go here. They never were going to need this. All they needed to know was how to spin thread and keep a home. But now we remember what put them in the ground was an outbreak of some kind of illness. It's not really clear what went wrong at least it's not clear to the rest of the townsfolk. We know, and we don't know why we know this, but we know that these two were stricken down by poorly preserving their food. Something had spoiled in a way that is not as blatantly obvious, uh, and so they served a meal with this food that they never learned to, protect properly from the ravages of time, and unwittingly ended their own lives through sickness. The Knight of Swords, as we kind of like rise out of the graveyard and shake our head, trying to settle these memories back into place. For just a moment, someone, as we're walking out of the graveyard, someone walks by us, looks us up and down in quite the shock. With quite the expression of shock on their face, and then they kind of school their expression into a more flattened, unreactive face, and they go, I, I'm not from here like you are. Could you tell me the way to the nearest temple? And we rattle off a long description. The major arcana for this card is the World. The World upright, by the way. And as we're rattling off this information to this person, we realize that we are very suddenly aware of not only where this town is, but explaining the way to this temple, which the nearest temple is at least 3 or 4 settlements away. It's a good couple days ride on a horse. And as we're explaining this to the person, it's like this is not a large enough this is not a large enough city to host a temple of that kind. The people here tend to stick to worship in their own homes. We all have our own little shrines, our own little altars to whoever will listen. And as we're waxing poetic about the who and what of here, we realize that we do know the way to this temple. We've been that way many times, and it kind of settles in. There's a flash of wheels and the baying of some kind of pack animal, and the sway of canvas. And for a moment, we look down in this memory, and our hands are supported by some kind of something for a moment before our head clears, and we realize that we know our way not only to this nearby temple, but basically around the whole continent. We're very aware of just what this place has to offer. There's so much more of this world beyond the simple town that we grew up in, and it kind of it starts to settle in that we, even though we're from here, we aspired to more before whatever took our memory took it. And we kind of we're continuing to rattle off, this and that's about the location, about this temple, about a story that happened at this particular under a particular cleric's care there. We were talking about how one time there was this issue with something causing petrification, though we can't quite remember what was petrifying things, and we were talking with this local cleric, for they were a follower of they were a follower of the deity of knowledge, and of course we wanted to seek them out because perhaps they'd have information on what sort of thing could be causing this, and the cleric wasn't really sure, which was kind of a surprise. Usually this sort of type has that sort of information, and we realized that the person we were talking to, they bailed as soon as we mentioned that it's a few days ride that way. they did not stick around. We've been talking to empty air for the past however long. It's not quite clear. It's definitely been several minutes besides, though. The Five of Swords is what's next. Someone on the street recognizes you. How do they react when they see you? So this time, we've pulled the Hanged Man as our arcana here, and it is inverted. So someone on the street recognizes you. I think they react poorly because the Hanged Man is inverted, which is just a fascinating way to pull this card, because I've never seen this particular art before. It's meant to go this way, but I digress. This person reacts particularly poorly to us, and their gaze immediately shoots to our neck, and they pale as we approach. And it takes us a little bit to put two and two together who this is. This is, they're a bit hunched over with age now, but this is our former school teacher from that schoolhouse, and their eyes just cannot get away from our neck. And eventually we raise a hand in greeting and ask them how they're doing, and they just stare. No words, just stare. Their eyes slowly shift from our neck to lock eyes with us, and they shake their head and start to walk off. Our hand flies to our neck, where we find a severe patch of scar tissue. It is a very sudden surprise. We weren't expecting it to be there, and so we kind of rush around town for a little bit, trying to find the well. And eventually, when we do, we loom over the well to try and catch a reflection, and we find that there is a small, clean scar that is backed by a much wider, more rough scar, and it immediately. As we're staring at the scar, struggling to put together just what exactly caused this, we can't really put together what the small scar was. But the large scar, we remember, as we're staring down at the well and kind of trace the line of it on the water, and the water ripples, and we, deedly flashback. And we recall a time when we were out tromping through the nearby forest. Magnus, leave that alone. It's not for you to play with. Magnus, you have so much else to do. You don't need to bother those lights. Buddy, no. That one's not for Kitty. I know, you're interested. You saw an open box and you want to play along. I get it. I follow. But you don't need it. Yeah, bud, you want to just not do that? Okay. Where was I? We were remembering something. With the neck. Oh yeah. We can't really place the small, thin scar atop the wide, rough one. But as we're walking along, Magnus, leave those alone. They're not for you. I don't know what to tell you, man. They're not for you to. They're not for you to hassle with. They're the rest of the overhead lights. As we're walking through the forest, we do not notice. We do not notice a snare until it is far too late, and even worse is when what makes us notice the snare is actually tripping into it, and the snare snaps tight, and we snap up, and we're suspended by our neck, struggling to breathe for long moments. The rope pressing harder and harder into our neck, the uncomfortable flaxen weave cutting cutting like a handful of flechettes against our neck, and we struggle and writhe, and the world starts to dim and sway, and just as we're about to lose consciousness, the hunter who had placed that snare barges into the clearing that we found it in, and without a second thought shoots an arrow through the rope, and we fall to our knees, ripping the rope from our neck with help from this mysterious hunter, and struggle to breathe. And we realize that this school teacher is definitely reacting the way they are because we have cheated death at least one time, and they have always found that against the natural order. It made it so much harder to receive any sort of instruction or schooling because the teacher would just completely shut us out. There was no sense of there's no sense of interaction there. They never did. Oh man, I keep losing my train of thought. They never did acknowledge us in any way. Essentially, just long form shunning us. And they were. It's not. We're not sure if they were the only time that a person did this to us after surviving that snare in the forest, but it definitely hurt the most. We were always one to search for knowledge, and so having that denied us probably is what fueled us to become the adventurer we are now. Or were now, perhaps? It's not clear. But regardless, it's easy to think about that fueling our desire to go find more in the world instead. So we'll shuffle these back into the deck arbitrarily here. And we will move to Act 3. Cups. You manage to find your home. The facade is unfamiliar, but you fish the key out of your pocket and open the door. Draw 3 cards from the deck of cups. The 4 of cups, I lied. The 4 of cups inverted. Hang on, we'll spin that the right way around because I forgot to do it. The 3 of cups upright. And lastly but not leastly, the 5 of cups. That's... Are we sure we shuffled that right? No, they're out of order. We pulled 4 first, it's fine. So the 4 of cups, we do actually, as we're reflecting on this memory, we rise from the well and stumble in a grotesque echo of the memory that we just had. And by the time we finally get our footing and manage to not fall in the well and all that sort of thing, we find ourselves looking directly at a small blue house. It's been... the blue paint has faded a long, long way. We can tell that it used to be a much darker, more vibrant blue, but it has faded to somewhere between a clear night sky, or a clear sky as twilight begins to fall, and a lightning sea. And we move forward, our legs carrying us almost unbidden, and once again our muscle memory kicks in as we rummage through our pockets and shove the key into the lock, and find that for this card to interpret it, the 4 of cups, we have the moon inverted. The 4 of cups, by the way, is a book on your shelf catches your eye. Which book is this? I think I'm going to take the moon a little literally here. If I remember right, the moon, we'll talk about Binding of Isaac later. I'm going to take this a little literally. I'm going to say that the book we find, but it's inverted. I know how I'm going to make this inverted. So the book we find, we walk in and our house is just an entire wall is books. And our eyes flit over what must be familiar titles, books of magic and healing and nature and fiction of all kinds, heroic tales, bardic spins, that sort of thing. And eventually we find that one book, only one book, is placed backwards with the pages out. We approach it kind of calmly, quietly, and fetch it from the shelf. And as we turn it around, this is the finest book on the shelf. We can immediately tell. The rest of these were bound, some of them somewhat haphazardly, some of them have been passed from owner to owner to owner as their knowledge spreads. But this one was bound with a great deal of care by very skilled hands. The dark green leather is embossed and filigreed with what looks like both silver and gold, and it looks like a scene of someone pleading the moon for something. And we were kind of looking the book over, trying to see if there's any identifying information, any sort of detail on the spine, but the spine is just a spray of stars, and the other side of the book is blank, but it is engraved with our initials, which are, what is this person's initials? We haven't established that. RR, I'm going to say, is their initials. 2 R's. And we kind of squint at them in hopes that we remember any of our name, but nothing comes to mind. And we slowly thumb open the book, and for a long moment, staring at the pages of this book, it just makes no sense. There's just nothing we can understand, but as we continue to page through the book farther and farther, we can tell that this was written in a code that we once understood, because as we are paging through the book, it starts to make more and more sense. Not enough that we can really, follow what's going on in here, but we can tell, based on the patterns that are in here, that this book was written in code, potentially by us. We haven't seen a lot of our handwriting, so we're not quite sure. But that would make sense. I mean, why else would we have a coded book in our own home, engraved with what we know are our own initials? Be a bit weird if it wasn't, right? It takes us a long time to sort of pick through this book, to try and sort of put together that, yes, this is in code, yes, it's in a code we used to understand, and we find as we're leafing through this that the sun starts to go down, and something pings in our mind and tells us something, perhaps a mode of recognition pings in our mind, and we go, oh, we have to take the wastebasket out. The magistrate gets very upset if we don't put our items out on time. Fittingly for the Three of Cups, the prompt is you look inside your waste bin, and what do you find? And we find judgment within the waste bin. So, very fittingly, I think the local magistrate being a problem coming to mind suits this card very well. I think that oh man, I think that we snap up from our book, and it tumbles from our hands. The puzzle that we were trying to suss out, completely forgotten for just a moment or two. As we fumblingly search for any sort of trash that's left in the house, and realize that we only have a good 30 minutes to clean up the house a bit, and our signs of absence are written into every inch of the place. There is what seems like an inch-thick layer of dust over everything that we have to spend a lot of time fussing with sweeping, and the kitchen is an absolute mess. Something has gotten in here, and availed itself of our provisions. You know, there's flour all over the floor. The cheese that was lying on the counter, clearly waiting to have been snacked on, has been just completely obliterated. There are crumbs everywhere. There was a clove of garlic. There was like a braided set of cloves of garlic over the door, and a few of them have giant bite marks out of them, and like something has been living in here as we kind of enter the kitchen. Like some birds kind of rustle their way out of the oven flue. You know, it's just disastrous in here, and so we spend as much time as we can trying to get the house in order. And as we're setting out this pile of waste for the magistrate to deal with, the magistrate has been standing there. The magistrate officer has been standing there looking at their timepiece, impatiently awaiting our arrival with this with the detritus that they need to get rid of. And they snap at us. "Oh, late as usual, aren't you? I'm just glad you're not limping anymore." And our face kind of drops, and we go, "Limping anymore?" And he goes, "Oh, don't give me that. You've given me the amnesia card at least 3 times in a row. I simply won't have it. You know, this is a complicated ritual that we perform with the waste. You know, I'm not some type of wizard like some of your friends are. I can only do this in the specific, limited fashion that the city has set up. And you delaying everything makes it that much harder to make everything work for everyone else down the line." And he gestures to the rest of the city as if there's so many other people waiting for their trash. We know deep down that there's only one person after us anyway. And really, it's never the worst thing if this ritual goes off incorrectly. We've seen it 100, 1,000 times that it really doesn't matter all that much. You know, oh no, the waist moves a few feet less to the left than it should have been. It's not like the world's going to end, or some kind of terrifying beast is going to rise from the trash pile because we were a few minutes late. But the guard essentially just kind of clearly has more he wants to say, but looks down at his watch again and scoffs and kind of kicks at the waste bin in front of us and forces it to scatter all over the ground. He says, "You're too late. You'll have to deal with it tomorrow." And he stalks off, and clearly in an incredibly angry mood. And we just kind of look down at the trash, and our hands shake a little bit. We kind of bite down on a sob. The last card for this act is 5. You see notes to yourself lying about. What is written on them? I think, so the card we've pulled is Death Inverted. Death 13, if you will. To elucidate this prompt. I think that, you know what? Let's lean in. I've been hinting at something this whole time. Death Inverted brings to mind the things in this trash are not just what we salvaged out of the kitchen. There was a thin film of notes essentially on the bottom of the waste can, and as the guard kicked it open, the notes scattered all around our feet. And we realize as we pick one up and start to read, and our face kind of falls as we realize what's on it. We pick up another and another and another and another, and realize that these are notes left at the bottom of the waste bin by us previously, and it all sort of clicks together. That memory of being thrown through the florist's plate glass window, that memory of the noose around our neck, the slice atop that new scar glows white hot as another memory drops into place once we pick up another note and realize that it's detailing our death at the hands of a very accomplished assassin. We pick up another note and find that we pick up another note with the that looks the most recent. The paper is the least aged. The ink has barely settled, and and we realize that it's a note from the most previous version of us, who died of poison this time, and we realize that all of these notes are from us before. Each time we've gotten into this cycle of going out and finding ourselves amongst the world, drinking deeply of any information we can find, only to find that we die somewhere. And each time, each time we come back here, it takes longer and longer to come back to ourselves after each death. Our body coated, slowly becoming coated in scars over and over. The cycle of being reborn, and our memories struggle harder and harder to be grasped each time. Each time we remember a little less, even though we remember just enough to get by. We remember the skills that are burned into our muscles, the spell work that's burned into our brain, but uh, the the minutiae of our day-to-day life fades farther and farther away each time. Uh, and we notice, as we're putting these things together, having these horrifying realizations about ourselves, we realize that each of these notes has grown shorter and shorter because we have less and less to say. It's less and less remarkable. Oh, I just died again. It's fine. It's becoming routine, and that scares us. Okay. Shuffle the Arcana back into the deck, and and then we will turn to Act 4, Wands. Let's draw 3 cards for this. The Knight of Wands inverted. The Nine of Wands, which might be a little confusing. 9 is in the number 9 of Wands upright. And last but not least, the Seven of Wands. So what's the Knight of Wands? There's something you're desperate to learn. Which question haunts you? How do you seek this information? So we stumble into the house, our heads spinning with the information that we've learned, and pull the Chariot inverted. The Chariot. Yeah, absolutely. So we are desperate to learn anything more in the struggle to try to remember the information that we've lost, that we know we haven't held from life to life, the little details of everything, and we're haunted by those who have come into our life and disappeared. We know, every life we have, there's only so many people that can come with us. We realize that despite everything, someone else is some if not most of our compatriots are dying in the process of us dying as well. It slots into place that we also died at that family dinner of those 2 people from the graveyard, that we don't remember very well, but we died eating that food too, and That's why that's one we came back from, but they didn't, and it sinks into us that we know each of the people around us are especially fleeting when we cannot die, and desperate for any kind of answers on the people we've forgotten. We throw ourselves into bed in hopes of the dreams within showing us something, anything at all. I'm gonna pull another major arcana here. Really, I just pulled the lovers. We've pulled the lovers way too much. I'm gonna put it on the bottom of the deck. I'm gonna pull another card here to see how this dream goes. The Star inverted. Okay. You know what? The Star, if I remember right, I don't want to take this one literally. I know what I'll do. Uh, we, as we throw ourselves onto bed, we almost immediately pass out. It's hard work coming back to life, and as we kind of rise into the haze of our dreams, we find ourselves on a battlefield. We know in our gut, in our bones, that this is one of our many deaths. But for now, we are compelled to move, to act as we did then. A sword unfamiliar in our hands strikes with a fluid delicacy, uh, cutting down these armed forces in front of us as though they are so much wheat, striking again and again and again, perfectly finding the holes in the armor, the holes in these formations, breezing through these armies over and over and over again, until finally someone comes up, someone appears atop a rise that we have been fighting our way up, and we know that this is the adversary we were looking for. And we know it's them because there is a large, stylized, eight-pointed star upon their chest, emblazoned broadly. You know how, kind of, hang on, how many? 2, 4, 6, 8. Uh, it's a bit like the stars on the star card here, right? But the cardinal points extend longer, instead pressing their way onto the arms, uh, and up through the helmet and down onto their legs. Uh, and as we approach them, they raise what looks like a harmless stick to most eyes, but we know is carrying some sort of dire magic, and we can feel them smiling underneath their helm as they extend the stick at us and chant some kind of ritual words, and the strength drains from us. The armor becomes as though it's lead, and the realization slams into us that whatever they've done, they've completely countered the transformation that lets us be on this battlefield. The magic that was powering our ability to stand and fight and win this battle ebbs away like so much sand through a hand, sand through the fingers, and we just collapse onto the ground, our muscles twitching, our body screaming, our back aching, and we don't have the strength to rise as this true night descends upon us, rips away our helm, and stabs us in the eye, and we wake up. We grip at the left eye that was no more, finding it intact once again, and breathe a sigh of relief. That death did not stick just like the others. But we still don't learn what we were looking for. We don't learn what we wanted to know, why we can do this, what it means for the people in our life. And so we move to the Nine of Wands. You feel as though something is missing. What do you suspect is causing this feeling? So we settle back into our sleep. Didn't we already pull the Magician as well? Yes, I talked about how I think I know what the Magician means. We've already pulled the Magician. I don't want to see the same cards. Here we are. The Fool. New Beginnings. Inverted. So we feel as though something is missing. What do you suspect is causing this feeling? We feel like we are missing out on something. We feel like we are missing out on our new beginnings. We feel like as we rise from our slumber in the morning, and slowly, achingly, stumblingly start to clean the house, we realize that we have a habit of leaning on something to our left that's not there. We keep stumbling as we put out our right foot, and we realize that we don't have our cane. We're not sure. We're not quite sure. Perhaps it was whatever brought us back to life before, but we know now that we've always needed a cane, and this fact kind of clicks into place in many, many memories. The cane having been, an ever-present part of our life, so why was it an important detail until right this second we don't have our cane, and it just snaps into place in all those memories, and we go, of course, no wonder I'm so clumsy. And we find that the new beginning we are looking for needs to start with this cane, or we're going to be falling all over ourselves and losing even more memory. And we start to, rummage around the house when a knock comes at the door. We're busy pulling things out of a chest of drawers that's set somewhere amongst the. Actually, it's set behind a bookshelf that hinges with ease, and we're poking through it like there's got to be something in here that'll work, and there's a knock at the door. And we kind of slowly, achingly, limpingly make our way to the door and find that there's someone at the door. We can't really place what their face is. We can't really tell who they are, but they extend what seems to be a simple, well-carved wooden cane to us and says, my friend, you forgot this. I think you will be needing it. And we kind of nod in a way that makes this person chuckle, and he says, things not coming together yet, Find me when it does. And we take the cane from his hand and nod gratefully, and he turns a bit curtly and rushes off, clearly very busy at the moment. And with the aid of this cane, immediately we can get so much more done without having to trip over ourselves, without having to focus on stepping just right, to avoid the pain spreading from our calf up into our knee. The immediate ease this thing provides in movement is startling and frustrating. How did we not bring this along for once? You'd think we'd have a provision for keeping that thing by our side at this point. We've done this how many times in a row? And as we continue to clean the house, the frustration builds in us. Wheel of Fortune. The frustration continues to build in us. More and more frustrated about how long did we go without this? How much did we need this? And we had denied ourselves the simplest of solutions to such a simple problem. And eventually we get so frustrated that as we're, sorting through our belongings, we're getting hastier and hastier, trying to just find something, anything to jog more memories. Everything's just frustratingly vague as we continue sifting through the detritus of another man's life. We know we should recognize all of this. Why is everything out of place? Why is everything like this? And in our frustration, we grab a little too hastily at something, and something snaps in our hands as we pull it out of the box. that we were searching through and find that a small, delicate spinner has cracked in our hands. And as soon as we see it in our hand, we know what it is. It's essentially a base for a small pendulum. You know, you put like a pendulum type thing. You put a you put this little pendulum type thing onto the base, and you sit and do something to focus your mind on the divinationary task. You know, perhaps it's something meditative usually, and the memory snaps into place for us. We were usually making tea, and you are meant to do this on some kind of unstable tabletop essentially, and the little jiggle jostles essentially that you are providing to the table slowly allow this pendulum, which is more of a spinner arrow, to spin upon its little balancing pin and give you an answer by which color it lands upon. You know, you put your intentions of I want this color to mean this outcome, this color to mean this outcome, and so on. And there are, let's say, 7 colors around this thing, and the stem has broken off in our hands. And we realize that this Wheel of Fortune will spin no more. The future holds many things for us, but it is entirely unclear what. And with that, we will move into Act 5. Presumably the ending of this game. We shuffle the major arcana back into the deck. Your past may shape your experiences, your thoughts, your desires, but it does not define you. You are in control of your own path. The road ahead may be built from stones that you've gathered, but these fragments of your past do not dictate where it leads. It is time to move forward. We return our shadow to the major arcana deck, realizing that the strength represented initially by our card here was more stubbornness than anything. 12. And as I sort through these cards here, we will be choosing a different major arcana to represent our present self. Choose freely from among the cards, says the game. You are in charge of your own identity. Who are you, and what do you do next? 16, the Tower. 15, the Devil. 5, 6, 7, 8, the Moon. 18. We'll see if I can get these all spread out nicely. 3, the Empress. 20, Judgment. I'm definitely gonna have to do this in more than one row, aren't I? Let us sort these by tense, shall we? 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, yeah, we'll sort them. Temperance, 14, 14. Once again, the Wheel of Fortune, 10. Sorry, I'm just like, I like dictating these as I'm sorting them. 0, the Fool. 7, the Chariot. 10, 5, 6, 7. The Star, 17. The World. The World. 21. The Sun, 19. I'm off. 5, little bit. The Emperor, number 4. Number 9, the Hermit. Number 2, the High Priestess. Number 5, the Hierophant. Number 11, Justice. Number 6, the Lovers. And last but not least, number 1, the Magician. So we reflect on ourselves for a long time, realizing that accepting one's limitations does not have to mean that that we are not strong, that we are not still willing, capable of seeking out every ounce of information this world has for us. And we realize that provided we're a little more careful, provided we don't lean on our gifts quite so aggressively, the search for knowledge will not stop us. It will instead buoy us higher and higher, closer and closer to the goal that we are searching for. And so I think we're going to choose... see, I can't remember if either the High Priestess or the Magician suits what I want here. It's either the High Priestess because she guards against the monsters with knowledge as her guide, kind of implied, I misread these fruits as kind of monstrous eyes behind her, or the Magician, the stereotypical seeker of knowledge, the understander of the path forward. In contrast to the fool's unawareness of its own beginning, the Magician recognizes the path and what to take. And I think we'll lean into that awareness and instead choose the Magician as our new identity. And the story of said Magician finding themselves once more walking amongst the world in search of information is a story that I leave to you, the listener. As I always do, I like to leave these open for you all, to give you a little room to play with. So this game has some credits and inspirations at the tail end here. The Wretched by Chris Bissett, which I can see that. The Wretched has inspired a lot of people. The Portal at Hill House, you can feel the Portal at Hill House in this one. I think particularly the way that Portal at Hill House kind of let you modify prompts, and the way that this game, Anamnesis, also lets you kind of allow another piece of the game to modify the prompt that you're initially given. I really like this. I think in the same vein as hang on, I'm going to put the Magician out on the table here. I think in the same vein as Portal at Hill House, and in the same vein as Beyond Super, I really, really love this because it gives you an initial prompt, you start to have ideas, and then another thing takes hold in the game and alters the mood, sets the tone of this prompt very differently. I think that this game actually leans into being a tarot game very well. I think this game, it leaves itself open to interpretation as you are drawing the major arcana. It says there is no right or wrong way to understand these. Other games that involve pulling from a tarot deck, for example, what we did very early on at some point, the Gateshead engine was a tarot game. And the Gateshead engine instead kind of had these tarot cards broadly inform the themes of the prompt. but instead I really, really prefer this in the sense of it feels like it is a divinatory tarot game. You are divining what the story wants as you pull each card. You know, you say, oh, this prompt, this prompt, this prompt, and that feels very like the pulling of the minor arcana feels very online with games like Alone Among the Stars. You know, you're just pulling cards from a deck to get prompts, which is great. It's a great time. It's not a bad mechanic. I probably definitely am going to write some myself eventually, but I also really, really like games that modify the prompt in some way, whether it's by rolling the dice, by letting you choose actions, or in the way this game does, you pull from the major arcana and you interpret, and that interpretation makes this game feel very bound to the tarot deck. You know, some tarot games that I've played, they feel like they're just using the tarot deck to have extra prompts. You know, more prompts than are available in a standard deck of cards. But this game feels like it is very intentionally using the tarot, and I like that a lot. Is this the one with the this isn't the one with the director's commentary. The one with the director's commentary, there's a version of this game that has director's commentary, right? On like the design choices that the designer made, and that actually was nominated for an Emmy. Did that win that Emmy? I meant to look that up before stream, and then I had to eat dinner. Let me look that up because they got nominated for like the Emmys are a little bit like the game design Oscars, kind of. They're like, oh, okay, it's not an Oscar. It's I would describe winning an Emmy as a bit like winning the not necessarily like the Newbery Medal or the like Pulitzer or whatever, but like the what's it called? The science fiction excellence medal. Anyway, Emmys, Anamnesis 2022 results from the Emmys Awards: Best Adventure, Best Aid, Best Art, Best Cartography, Best Electronic Book. Here we are. Anamnesis with designer's commentary was indeed nominated. You can get this physically, by the way. Yeah, it was a nominee. What won that category? The Lazy DMs. Okay. Alright, that's why. I was like, why didn't this win? This is so good. It's because it was up against the Lazy DM's Companion, which is so good. Like, I have occasionally poked my head into the Lazy DM's Companion. It is so good. I do not blame I don't blame the Academy for choosing that. Like you know what I mean. The group. But this is so good. I can see why this was nominated. Even in this version that I kind of got as I did, this is so good. It really, like, the prompts flow really well. I love that it incorporated the tables into each step of play. It's not like, okay, here are all the steps, but you gotta scroll for those tables. Have fun, smile. No, they're in order. They're in order, and I think more games should be willing to do that. I think this was very, very well laid out. It's very open to being played many, many times. Um, I like it a lot. I like it a lot, and if this is any indication, that that planner game they have planned, which I'm gonna look up the name of right now, actually. Oh, there's a Spotify playlist for background music. That's fun. Yeah, this game is so good. I liked it a lot. So, Samantha Leigh, if I can find what game are you working on right now? It's called... Oh, someone built Alone Among the Stars on a 3DS. Sorry, immediately distracted. That's wild. How do I get to the, like... Ah, here we are. So I don't know if it's done yet, but they were working on, last time I was paying attention, uh, oh no, no, this isn't the tarot game. This is, yeah, this is another tarot game. It is a hack of Anamnesis called Death of the Author, about a character trying to gain control over their story despite their author wanting the exact opposite of that. So like that, I can see having played this, I can see exactly how that would go. You know, you draw from the minor arcana, and that's the scene the author wants, and then the major arcana are um, how the character instead breaks away from the scene. I can see that. I can see that. That's really really fun. Um, well, now I really need to download that too. I'm gonna link you guys to this particular itch.io page. If my computer will type. There we go. So this is the author, provided I spelled it right. This is kind of the author, publisher. I don't know if it's a community thing. Either way, that's where you can get this game. I would hardly recommend it. I am genuinely probably going to, next time I have a little cash around, I'm probably going to buy a physical copy of this, because this seems like a really great game to just unplug for the night with. This seems like a good one to get like as a booklet. If I were 15% more stubborn about about allowing myself time for my hobbies without letting my hands explode, I would probably print this and bind it myself. This is really, really, this is a great game. Like I said, this would be a really good one to like play in an evening, completely disconnected from technology. You like sit down with an actual physical journal and pull these cards and write by hand, and you can really, you know, take your time and luxuriate on these prompts. You know, I kind of sped myself along a little faster than I even meant to with this, because I thought there was gonna be a lot going on, and I also haven't I haven't played a game stream in a while, so I wasn't sure how to pace myself. But this was so good. I 100% will be playing this again. I heartily, heartily recommend it if you even are the slightest, littlest bit interested in this. I would suggest checking it out. Um, yeah, I liked it a lot. And once again, hearty, hearty thanks to the author here for providing me a copy. Like, this game normally, let me double check this, but like, this game is not normally, you know, an undue financial burden. It's normally what, $10? Yeah, it's normally $8. The digital copies are $8. And so it was just such a sheer act of kindness of the author for me to be like, for them to reach out and be like, "Hi, I would like to provide you a copy so you can play this game," because I was just gushing about it in a way, like I was gushing about it like, I am looking forward to your games. I like the way they look. I feel like you write good things, and they were just like, "I'm going to be very kind to you. You now have a copy of my game." Boop. And I really like that. If you need an additional audiobook, if you need an additional audiobook narrator for your game, by the way, I will happily offer my services to you. On the itch.io page, uh, there is, when you buy the game, an audiobook version as part of the files for accessibility's sake. You'll note that I was using my ebook reader for this, which I don't normally do. Normally, I get these as PDFs. This is available as an EPUB. It's available as just like straight up raw text file. You can get it in PDF. the creator read it aloud as an audiobook if you need the audiobook rules, which again, I would love to extend my voice for that. If you need another take on these rules, happily. Happily. Paper Cuts is on hiatus anyway, but like I would happily return the favor that you've given me and give you something in return because this game is great. I'm going to be playing a lot of this game. This is a fantastic way to like, you know, play with the amnesia trope, build a character from nothing, in a way that is just so fascinating. And like I said, I love the prompt system. I've already got some ideas spinning in the back of my head about maybe spinning a hack off of this. But I'll keep that hush because it's not anything more than a basic idea. Either way, heartily recommend you check this one out. I loved this. And now that we've got these tarot cards, we can play a lot more tarot games. I've been kind of avoiding tarot games because I'm like, oh, I don't have a tarot deck, and I don't want to. But like as I've been learning more about the tarot, which I've been reading from like a weird period source from Gutenberg, so like you know it's not very helpful sometimes, but it's been interesting. And so we'll be playing a lot more of these tarot games going forward, I think. I think just having them as an option is really nice. If anyone's really fussed about control, just yell about it in Discord, honestly. I was having a great time with Discord. I was having a great time with control, but I just wanted to play something else. And this game is so good. I knew it was gonna be pretty good from the way they were describing it. You know, the way that like the game is conceptually. I was interested for a reason. And it also was very interesting to play another spin on memory loss that's kind of very different from Punch Card Memories, which is another really great one. But I digress. I've carried on enough. This has been really fun. No paper cuts still. Working on improving things. Reaching out to authors. That sort of thing. Ooh, I never actually announced that live here, did I? Oops. I mentioned it on in the Discord, which you really should join the Discord. There's a lot of good stuff there. But I never actually announced this live. Oops. Paper Cuts is on hiatus, if you hadn't put two and two together there. The season ended on episode 48. But it's 47. The Christmas episode counted. 48. And I am now working on building up momentum for season 3. Picking out books, trying and failing to find time to join book clubs. Every time they schedule the next book club at the end of the last book club, well, I can't get there because it's the end of the month, and that's when I drive the RV. So I just keep wanting to go and then keep being unable to go. I love it. But I digress. I probably shouldn't be there while Paper Cuts is on hiatus anyway. Yeah, you know, working on author permission, changing up some stuff behind the scenes, that sort of thing. I've got good ideas. I've got fun ideas. I've got some ways to improve a few things. We're just taking a breather on Paper Cuts. Don't worry, it'll be back. The podcast feed will be this month's episodes went up on the 1st of April on accident. I meant to schedule them for the 10th of April, and that didn't work. It misread it and said, I'm going up on the 1st of April, and up they went. So next month's episodes are going up on the 10th of May. Where was I? Do I have anything else? Once again, definitely get this game. Very good. I loved Anamnesis, and I suggest you pick it up if you are even the slightest bit interested. I normally am not very like pushy about solo tabletop RPGs like this. I'm normally just like, oh yeah, get it if you want, but this one was really good. I know, bias. I didn't pay for it, but it's great. It's good. It's really good. Um. Anyway, have a good night, everybody. Have a good weekend. I will see you hopefully Tuesday for more game. We'll figure out what game it is in the meanwhile. Drop by the Discord. We'll